Hi and welcome to the AtheistDominion. My name's Rob, and in this video I want to take a look at Atheism Today, where it is, where it isn't, where it's being persecuted, and all that. So let's have a look. Figures show that here in the West at least, atheism is on the rise, although in the poorer parts of the world where they seem to endlessly pump out children, religion continues to rise. The Oxford Handbook of Atheism says there's about 450 to 500 million people who identify as atheists today, which is about 7% of the global adult population. But if we look at non-religious people, or those unaffiliated with any religion, then the figure jumps to about 1.1 billion people, and that's about 16% of the adult population of the Earth. It can be pretty tough to be an atheist in some countries around the world, and there's a list of those where they actually execute atheists. Afghanistan, Iran, Maldives, Mauritania, Nigeria, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, United Arab Emirates and Yemen. I think Malaysia may be in there, though I'm not sure. That's why I didn't add it. But it's not a good place to be an atheist anyway, and we'll come to that a little bit later. So what if we wanted to compare two countries, one being very atheist and another being very religious? Which two could we choose? Well, in this video, I'm going to look at France, because that's about 40% atheist, so that's one of the world's most atheist countries, and Saudi Arabia, which is supposedly one of the most religious countries in the world. In fact, Saudi Arabia, at least in terms of what the government says, is 100% Muslim. There's no other faiths or denominations or other beliefs. There's not even one church in Saudi Arabia. So let's compare France and Saudi Arabia and see how these two countries stack up against each other. Look, I know that Saudi Arabia and France are two very different countries indeed. Very different cultures, languages, religions, histories, places in the world, priorities. They are very, very different countries, but they are at the extreme ends of belief and non-belief. So I feel that they do make a good model for comparison. Both are wealthy countries. Saudi Arabia certainly with its oil reserves, and France of course with its economic power. In Saudi Arabia, atheists, and there are some there, but they very rarely if ever show themselves. In Saudi Arabia you can get the death penalty for being an atheist, because apparently the Saudis consider atheism to be equal to apostasy, and apostasy carries the death penalty in the Islamic faith, and so in Saudi Arabia being such a religious country, atheists can face execution. So I've got a little table here showing a comparison between France and Saudi Arabia, and let's see how the two countries go. So yeah, in terms of religion, 40% atheist in France, Saudi Arabia 100% Muslim. The GDP of France is 4.2465 trillion US dollars, Saudi Arabia $6.4 billion. Literacy for men in France is 99%, and that's the same for women. In Saudi Arabia, it's a little bit different. The literacy rate for men is 90.4%, but for women only 81.3%. In France, women account for 47% of the workforce, whereas in Saudi Arabia, they account for only 13%. France, in terms of freedom of the press, rank at 39, Saudi Arabia at 168. The life expectancy for men in France is 79.4 years. In Saudi Arabia, it's 73.2 years. So what's that? About 6 years longer in France for men. The life expectancy for women in France is 85.4 years. But in Saudi Arabia, it drops to a rather low 76 years. The Social Progress Index for France sits at 19. Saudi Arabia, 57. France comes in at number 3 in the World Health Organization ranking, whereas Saudi Arabia comes in at 58. Oh, and by the way, in France there are 5,653 cinema screens in the country. Saudi Arabia has 1. So the result is, well, the French, with all their evil secularism and freedom and atheism, far outperform and outrank Saudi Arabia in every way. So that's good for the French, but how are atheists perceived around the world? Well, it doesn't look too good for us. Scientific American, 17th of January 2012, apparently atheists are the most distrusted group. Atheists are one of the most disliked groups in America. Only 45% of Americans say they would vote for a qualified atheist presidential candidate. And atheists are rated as the least desirable group for a potential son-in-law or daughter-in-law to belong to. Will Gervais at the University of British Columbia recently published a set of studies looking at why atheists are so disliked. His conclusion, it comes down to trust. For some reason, people don't trust atheists. I'd like to get people's thoughts on that. Why don't they trust us? I'm trustworthy. I always tell the truth. Time magazine, 22nd of May 2014. Atheists are one of the fastest growing groups in the world, but at the same time, the latest Pew poll shows that they're the most distrusted group in America. And Americans would be less likely to support a godless presidential candidate than an unfaithful or a pot-smoking one. Malaysia, as mentioned before, a Malaysian politician called for atheists to be hunted down and re-educated. The World News talks about atheists facing persecution and discrimination. And of course, there have been violent attacks, often with deadly consequences, on atheist bloggers in countries like Bangladesh, and it's happened in India as well. And even here in Australia, we had an Atheist Convention not that long ago that was picketed by a group of Muslim men. And these men were very upset that atheists were getting together. They were shouting angrily, placards denouncing atheism, and this person and that person is going to hell. And
we're in Australia. I'm lucky I'm in Australia. I'm not in your country. Yeah.
Look, it's a free country, Australia. If you want to not like atheists and complain about them and protest, you have that right. You can do that. But really, what are you achieving? You've wasted time. The atheists are allowed to get together. They're not hurting you. The atheists aren't going to your mosque and protesting there. So I think it was a rather pointless thing to do. This is an open country. This is an open society. We have freedom. We are allowed to get together, just as you're allowed to get together and do your thing, and we don't go and protest you. Just saying, all right? So to those guys who are protesting, just chill, okay? They're atheists. They're just people. Let them do what they want to do. You don't have to go there and yell at them and threaten them with damnation. But like in everything, there is a bright side, and there was an article talking about better educated people are more likely to be atheists. Independent newspaper, atheists are more intelligent than religious people. I don't know, are they? I don't know, but considering some of the religious people I've met, then probably atheists are more intelligent than them. 2013 research by the University of Rochester found the intelligence mismatch association model, which revealed that atheists are more intelligent than religious people. Why? The reasons given were that if religion is seen as an evolved domain, i.e. an instinct, then atheists are able to rise above instinct and use rationality to solve non-instinctive problems. That's something to chew on. And of course, atheism is definitely on the rise in the US. This graph here shows over the decades just how much the atheist population is growing in the US. So look, that's pretty much all I wanted to do for this video. Just have a look at Atheism Today, look at the numbers, look at where it's safe to be an atheist, look where it isn't safe to be an atheist. And yeah, let me know what you think. Thanks very much for watching. And if you like my videos, please subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.